minutes early, so I'm just February 1st on Monday, new week and a new month. It's 10:30 gentle. We do have a couple of minutes, so those of you at home, if you need to gather things, need to get your blankets, blocks, if you're sitting in a chair, but take your time and get comfortable however you're seated, and just for this minute or so here, before we get really started, let your eyes close and let yourself just move your head around however feels good. Like if you need to circle your head a little bit or let your head come side to side, just starting to feel that release there now through your neck. And take your time. Feel yourself start to soften your shoulders down and shift around to get settled in between your sitting bones there. And then just watch your breath now. Feel the breath coming in and going out. Feeling the belly gently rising and expanding as you inhale. If you're comfortable, to come into those 3-part breaths. Inhaling into the belly, into your ribs, all the way up into your chest. On your exhales, letting the breath come out of the chest first, and then the ribs, and then the belly. And then letting your arms release on down beside you here now. Let's inhale both arms all the way out, enough overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come right down through the midline to be in front of our chests. And then we'll reverse. Inhale the hands right up through the midline. And on the exhale, opening the arms on back out and down. Inhaling here at center. And on the exhale, let's twist to our left. So let yourself come on around with your left hand behind you, however far you want to go. Lengthen up. Feel that sense of chin parallel to the floor. Now stay in the twist here, but the next time you exhale, turn your head to the right so that you start to look a little bit over your right shoulder. So you're turning away from the twist with your head here. One more inhale. And then as you exhale, bring everything back around into center so that you look forward, your shoulders come forward. Take a nice inhale. And on the exhale, we're going to twist to the right. So right arm around, again, hand wherever feels comfortable to rest. Let yourself go as far as you choose. Feel your sitting bones reaching down. And feel your feet in the floor, whatever part of your feet are touching the floor. So inhale here. And now stay in the twist as you exhale, turn your head to the left. So you're looking back over your left shoulder a little bit here. One more inhale. And on the exhale again, come on back around into center, releasing the arms on out beside you. Let's inhale both arms up into a wide V. Turn your pinkies a little towards each other. Feel that sense of lift through the body here, length through the spine. And then bend both your elbows. Let your hands come clasp behind your head and press the back of your head just gently into your hands. Now, if you feel comfortable, you can rise your chin up and still support your head. If that bothers you, don't do it. Just letting yourself feel the back of the head gently pressing into your hands. And then we'll rise on back up. We're going to unfold our arms down beside us. If you are on the floor with your legs crossed, switch the cross to your legs so that you even your hips out a little bit here now. And then we'll release our arms out beside us again. And we're going to inhale the right arm all the way out and up overhead. And come over into your side stretch. Left hand can rest there on the floor if you're on the floor, giving you a little support, or you can let it hang if you're in your chair. Or you might even want to put the hand up in your lap. But just let that side stretch very easily happen, just with your breath, breathing into the right ribs. And then we'll rise on back up. We're going to lower the right arm down, and we'll inhale the left arm all the way out and up. Again, reaching up through the fingertips as you come a little bit over to the side. Feel the breath now coming into the left ribs. And one more breath here. And then we'll come back up to the top. We're going to lower our arms on down. And now, let's clasp our hands behind us. If you're in a chair, you might need to slip a little bit forward. Clasp your hands there behind you. And then just easily start to move a little bit forward and back with your breath, keeping a nice long back. Letting your exhales bring you forward, and your inhales bring you back up. So just easily starting to move with your own breath. Finish off the one you're on. The next time you come up, let yourself stay up. And then from here, we're going to stretch our legs out in front of us. So if you're in your chair, you might want to scoot back again. And as you stretch your legs out long, bring your hands and arms forward and flex through your hands and your feet at the same time. And then as you point your feet, let yourself go ahead and release your fingertips to face down towards the floor. So flexing everything, toes and fingers up. And then when you point your feet, let your fingertips face down. And then one more time, let yourself release here. Feel the backs of the legs and the bottoms of the arms. And then reversing, letting them come down. Good. And now see if you can circle everything, hands and feet, right? So you're just letting them circle one. And you can go the same direction if you're more comfortable doing that. Or you can go opposite, right? And then when you're ready to reverse, let yourself reverse, which is kind of a thought process there when they're all going. And then come on down. Shake out your arms a little bit. We're going to come on around towards our hands and knees. So, you know, if you do not want to be on your knees, do not be. Feel free to put a blanket underneath your knees, a chair underneath your hands so you're not on the floor. And be really mindful of your wrists, right? If you know your wrists give you problems, coming to fist is fine. Using a blanket underneath the heel of your hand can be helpful. Get situated. Really let yourself release here into a neutral spine. So your belly's a little bit engaged, but you're not dropping down into the belly, and you have those natural curves in your back. On your next exhale, draw on up into that cat pose. Feel your tailbone drop down, the top of the head drop down. And on your inhale, send your tailbone back and up and move your way back into either neutral spine where you were or into cow, where you're letting your belly drop a little. You can look forward if you want. On the exhale, tailbone draws up under you, rounding up. Navel draws towards spine, and on the inhale, send your tailbone back and up, moving back through. So, you know, take your own time to move through your cat-cows. If it feels better to stay in cat or cow for a little bit without moving, do that. If you feel a kind of release that happens just by holding the pose. Good. And then finish off the one that you're on or the one you're heading into here. And we'll come to more neutral spine. And now just look over your right shoulder. Think about your right shoulder coming closer towards your right hip. And you might shift your weight a little more to your left foot or knee too. And then come on back into center and look over to the left so that you'll let yourself just find a little extra through the right side waist. Come on back to center again. We'll go to the right again. So just looking back and releasing there to the side, and then coming back through center and looking over to the left and back. And then we'll come on back into center again. Bringing our left foot forward and our right foot back, we'll come up into our first lunge. So remember, your hands can be on the seat or back of a chair. They can be on blocks any height or the floor if you'd rather. But get a line here with your front knee. Let yourself make sure you're not bending that front knee any farther forward than your ankle. And again, same thing about your wrists. If they start to bother you, come to fist or fingertips. If it bothers you, to come onto those flat hands. And then we're going to switch and come into the right foot coming forward. Remember, how long of a stance you take, that's up to you. Just be mindful that front knee is bent no farther forward than your ankle. And let yourself really imagine you're elongating the whole back body here. So think about your spine being long. Opening up the back of the left leg. We're going to switch again. So again, finding that length of stance, and this time start to press a little bit your feet away from each other so you feel a little more up into your hips. And feel free to bring your left hand or forearm up if you want to. You can keep the left hand down, you know that. And we're going to switch again. So bringing the hand down if it was up and bringing that right foot forward. Again, pressing the feet gently away from each other. If it feels good to float your hand or forearm up there to that thigh, do. Lengthen through the back body again. Nice. And then we'll bring our hands down. We're going to step forward. Come on into standing forward bend. So be mindful, right? Walk a little bit at first, actually. And when you bend your knee, see if you can lift the heel up of that bent knee. So you're pressing into the ball of the foot, and really look at your feet when you're doing this. So sometimes when you lift the heel up, you tend to roll either to the pinky toe or the big toe side of the foot. Think about when you lift the heel up and you look at that foot, think about coming almost like you're coming between the big toe and your second toe with the feeling there instead of rolling to the pinky toe side of your foot. So just walk a little bit more if you can. Let yourself enjoy. And then release. Both heels on back down to the floor. Let the knees soften a little bit. Be where you're comfortable. If you feel better to bring your elbows above your knees, by all means do. Or use your hands on the chair or on the blocks. Or let your hands hang down if you really feel good there in your back. And breathe. Nice, full, deep breaths. Nice. And then from here, we'll bring our hands on up to our hips and press into our feet equally as we rise on up to standing. And inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. So coming into your mountain pose, adjust your way there, whatever you need to do, to get your feet the distance apart where you feel good, as parallel as you can be with your feet. And actually, bring your hands beside you, arms beside you for a second. Let your palms come in to touch the outside of your legs, wherever they reach to. Now when you do that, try not to roll forward in your shoulders. Think about really opening here across your chest. Feel your tailbone reaching down towards between your heels. Then float your arms like a balloon is blowing up in your armpits on each side. So the arms float just a little bit away from you. And then rotate your palms forward so that you spread your fingers out a little bit here now and reach down through the fingertips towards the floor. A sense of space between your ears and your shoulders. And on your next exhale, let your elbows bend and let your hands softly come to meet there in front of your chest. Spread your fingers a little bit. Feel connected through each finger and your thumbs. And then bring your awareness back to the feet there on the floor. And as we unfold our arms down beside us, we'll inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And on the exhale, bend our knees and come forward into that standing forward bend. Let your next inhale help you find a long back. It does not matter where your hands go to give you support. Your legs, your chair, your blocks. We'll step the right foot back and come into lunge. Take your time again. Find your lunge. Press your feet gently away from each other. Inhale. Exhale into your downward facing dog pose. So ease your way back here now. Take your time coming into this first dog. If you need to adjust how high your hands are, do it. Finding that spot for your shoulders where you feel really good. Elbows hugging in towards each other. I know it's harder on the blocks. They can be tippy, so be mindful if you're on the blocks. Find that length back through your tailbone. And then we'll come on out towards a plank. You don't have to do a full plank. You can come to knees down. You can go to your forearms to get out of your hands. Take your time. Find a little core strength here now, reaching your sitting bones down towards your heels. And then we'll make our way back into downward facing dog pose. And let's bring the right foot forward. To do that, if you need to put your left knee down, do. To come into your lunge again. And then we'll step back into standing forward bend. Feet hips distance apart and parallel. Again, whatever support you need, or if you like to hold your elbows, go right ahead. And then again, coming to the breath. Really feel that sense of the ribs expanding as you inhale. Letting your head hang, letting yourself release your face, your jaw. And then letting your hands come on back up to your hips again. We'll bend the knees, press into our feet, rise on up, and inhale the arms out and up overhead. And on the exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. Now inhale your hands high enough just that they go above your head. And then clasp your hands together and bring your hands to the back of your head again like we did earlier. Press into your hands with your head with your chin parallel at first here. Tailbone's dropping down. Remember, try not to tuck your tailbone up under you, which rounds you in the upper back. And now again, if you feel good to let your chin rise up and look up a little higher, keep pressing the head into your hands, do. Feel your feet in the floor. And then bring your chin on back parallel to the floor. Rise your hands up. If you can keep your hands clasped and send your pointer finger up, do. And then lean over to the left a little bit, breathing into the right side of the body. And then come on back up to the top and come over to the right, breathing into the left side. And then come on back up to the top. As you inhale, if you want to look up at your hands, do. And on the exhale, open the arms and fold forward into your standing forward bend. And on your next inhale, find that long, flat back, however you need to. And this time, left foot will step back to come into lunge. And inhale. Exhale into downward facing dog pose. So walk a little bit in your dog, like we walked in our standing forward bend. Take your time with it. Look at your feet if you can. Make sure, again, that you're coming out, thinking about coming between your big toe and your second toe with the heel instead of rolling to the outside of your foot. And then finish off back in your full dog. Let your next inhale bring you out to your plank. Again, you can do half plank, forearm plank. You can do push-ups if you want to bend your elbows, come a little deeper into your shoulders here and your biceps. And then we'll make our way back into down dog again. And this time we'll bring the left foot forward to find that lunge. So again, if you need to put your right knee down to do that, do. And then we'll come on back into standing forward bend. And really let it be a release, right? Whatever support you need in order to allow yourself to soften your face, your Upper body's released. Feel your feet in the floor. Make sure you're not rolling to the insides or the outsides of your feet. And then just breathe. Watch those full, deep breaths all the way in and all the way out. Good. One more breath. And then this time to rise up, let your arms be like wings. Bend your knees, press into your feet. Arms come out beside you like wings as you inhale them all the way out and up overhead. And on the exhale, bring our hands down together in front of our hearts. And from here, let's bring our left arm on top of our right and give ourselves a hug. And let your chin come on down towards your chest. And then roll your left ear towards your left shoulder for a second. And then come on back through center and think about your right ear coming towards your right shoulder a little bit. And then come on back into center. Now you can stay here. You can head if you want. Head rising up a little bit to look forward into your half wrap. Right back of your right hand coming to the outside of your left elbow. Or you can release all the way into your full back to the hands towards each other. Or the wrap where your right fingers come into your left palm. So that's up to you. You know, find where your shoulders can find release, not tension. Good. And then release, unfold those arms on down beside you. Let them hang for a second. Really feel the arms just hanging, weight of your arms. And then we'll come into right arm on top of the left. So giving the hug. Again, the hands can be up and over your shoulders, and they can be lower towards your armpits if you feel better there. Chin down for a second. Let yourself release. And then again, if you can roll one ear towards the shoulder, it doesn't matter which side you're going to. And then you can roll through center and go to the other side. If you need to kind of stay a little bit, find some release there, do. And when you do come back to center, you decide, stay hugging, or again, if you want to release your shoulders, slide the back of your left hand to the outside of your right elbow for a half eagle wrap. Or you can go ahead and go into backs of the hands towards each other, or the left fingers into that right palm, if that feels good to you. There's a final little twist of thumbs coming to the midline if you want even more into your shoulders there. One more breath. Release your arms on down and sit back into a little chair pose with your hands on your thighs. So you're kind of giving yourself a little support. Turn your fingertips in towards the midline of the body. So your elbows are bent. You're finding a little support there. Really feel your quads. Feel your feet equal in the floor. Good. And then see if you can just let your hands float to your heart. So you bring your hands to your chest. Might give you a little more going on in your legs there. And then press equally into your feet. Rise on up. We're going to inhale the hands right on up through the midline. And on the exhale, open the arms and fold forward into our standing forward bend. Let your next inhale help you find that flat back. Actually bend your knees a little bit here in your flat back and press your feet away from each other like you're trying to make your mat wider with your feet. And we're going to walk into down dog from here. So hands the height you like to be. Walk yourself on back. See if you can, once you get into dog, walk a little bit more. Feel your elbows hugging towards each other. Good. And come to your full dog, and on your next inhale, come on out to that plank. It is optional to do any kind of back bend. You can stay in plank. You can go into sphinx on your forearms. You can let yourself come into any back bend that you choose or not. And then we'll make our way back into down dog. Walk a little bit again if you can. And then we'll do that same thing. Coming on out to that plank. Again, it is optional whether you come into a back bend, stay in your plank, do what feels really good to you. And then we'll come on back again into downward facing dog pose. And from here, let's bring our left foot forward to come into lunge. So you can put your right knee down if you need to. And then we'll come back into our standing forward bend again. And again, you find what you need. If you have a chair there and it feels better to put your forearms on the chair or to put a block on the chair and then your forearms up, just be mindful and breathe. Nice, even if you can, deep breath. So think about counting when you inhale and reaching that same count when you exhale. So your breaths even out a little bit. Good. One more breath here. And then we'll bring our hands up to our hips. We're going to bend our knees and rise on up to standing. And inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, bring our hands down together in front of our hearts. So finding your mountain pose, take your time, adjust however you need to. Really enjoy finding that ease, that quiet strength of simply standing. Really feeling the body. I mean, our bodies want to align. So if you can just get that sense of pelvic alignment where your tailbone is dropping down towards between your heels, the belly gently lifted, hips over ankles, shoulders over hips. It's like you're stacking yourself up like your blocks. Then it becomes really effortless. Just letting yourself watch your breath. And then go ahead and let your hands come on down. Shake out a little bit, move around. If you need to move through your feet, ankles, anything, do. We're going to come into some warriors. So if you're using a chair, you can turn it around. Have your blocks handy there by you. And we're going to step our right foot back and come into warrior two. So lining up our heels here. Let yourself be mindful. Keep that sense of the heels lined up, the front knee lined up over the center of your foot. And then release to long arms here, straight out from your shoulders. Flex your hands for a second. Look at the back of your left hand. Really feel like you're pressing into the heel of the right hand back there as much as you are into the heel of your left hand. There's the undersides of the arms. And now just go ahead and let your palms face down. Spread your fingers out a little bit. Let yourself reach out through your fingertips. Feel the feet in the floor here. Good. Let's bring our right hand down to our right leg. Turn our left palm up. Slide your right hand down a little bit and reach up towards the ceiling with your left hand. Full breath into the left side. Reverse warrior. One more inhale. And on the exhale, we'll come into side angle. So left hand or forearm onto your thigh. And you know, it is up to you here how low you go. Bringing that right arm up if your shoulder lets you. The arm can be in line with the right side of the body, or it can be straight up. Or your hand can be down on your hip, right? So it depends on your shoulder. Be where you can be. And then we'll come on back into warrior two. Press those feet away from each other as we come. Good. Right hand is going to come to our right hip. We're going to straighten our left knee out. Coming into triangle, that left hand, how low down you go with that hand is not important. It can be up on your thigh, it can be on your chair, it can be down on a block or down on your shin. And now draw the right shoulder. If possible, stretch your right arm up, straight up from your shoulder. And again, if that feels uncomfortable, lower your hand down onto your hip. Feel the thighs engaging up towards the hips. So it's like you're trying to make space in your knees. Beautiful. One more breath. And then we'll bend that left knee. We're going to come on back into warrior two. Press the feet away from each other as we come. And now we're going to bring our right hands down to find lunge. The way you switch yourself around here is up to you. So if you need to stay up higher, do it. Grab blocks if you want for under your hands or your chair. Take your time here. We're going to add a twist. So left hand will come to the left hip. And we're going to rotate that shoulder up. Now try not to drop into that right side. Try to keep your hips fairly level. If you put your palm down, you can kind of tell if you're about level there or not. And then if you want to stretch that left arm up, you can. If it bothers your shoulder, don't do it. One more breath. And then we'll lower that left hand down. We're going to straighten the left knee out. Let the right heel just descend directly behind you. It might be on the floor and it might not. Try not to hike it inward. Try to let the heel go directly behind your foot. Let yourself just open up here. If you like to bow a little bit over that front leg, you can. That's up to you. And then we're going to come on to bend that front knee so we can step forward and get our feet right underneath us. Take your time here. Come into your forward bend, however you're comfortable. Support if you need. And then we'll press into our feet. We're going to rise up to standing and inhale our arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come right down together in front of our hearts. Now come into that chair pose again. Sit back. Put your hands, though, like we did before, on your thighs. Turn your fingers in towards the inner legs and give yourself support there so that you're reaching back through your tailbone. You're not trying to tuck your tailbone up under you. It's really reaching back. Feel your quads engaging. Then we're going to rise all the way on back up and shake your legs out a little bit before we get ready to do the other side. So walk around if you need. Have your blocks handy there if you need. We'll bring our right foot forward, our left foot back, coming into Warrior Two. Heels are in a line. Whether your feet are 2 feet, 3 feet, 4 feet apart, makes no difference. Just get that front knee aligned right out over the center of your foot. Make sure you're not hiking inward with the knee. And then again, rise those arms on up. Flex your hands. Look over at the back of your right hand. Now think of pressing equally into the heels of both hands. Finding the undersides of the arms. But try to soften your shoulders down. And then release your hands so palms are down. Spread your fingers a little bit. Feel energy all the way out through your fingertips. Finding that sense of really looking out beyond the wall, really. We're going to turn that right palm up. Left hand comes down. We're going to inhale, reach up towards the sky. Your left hand can slide down further if you want. One more inhale. And on the exhale, we're going to come into that side angle where your right hand or forearm is on your chair or your thigh. And then if you want to add the left arm up, it depends on you and your shoulder, right? So it could be that the arm's in line. It could be straight up. Could be hand on your hip. Lengthen through both sides of the body. Good. We're going to come on back into Warrior Two from here. Press those feet away from each other, getting right back into that powerful Warrior Two. Soften your shoulders down. Straightening into that right leg, left hand coming to your left hip. Triangle pose. Right hand comes down. Again, maybe up high. Not necessary to go low to be in a triangle pose, right? So feel the thighs lifting up. Whether you add the left arm straight up from your shoulder or keep it down on your hip. Again, up to you and your shoulders. Lengthening through the underside of the body. Continuing to engage upward with your thighs. Good. We're going to bend the right knee. We're going to come on back into Warrior Two. Pressing those feet away from each other. Gets us right back up. And now finding your lunge. Again, bringing your hands down, whatever surface you like. You can be up on the back of a chair. You can be on the seat. You can be down on blocks. And then letting your right hand come to your right hip and drawing yourself, again, not dropping into that left side. Palm down if your shoulder lets you, so that you can feel that levelness in your hips. And then if you feel good to rise the right arm up, you can, but it's not necessary to rise that arm up at all. You can just keep your hand on down. Finding the length through the body here. And then we'll release to bring our hands down. We're going to step forward and get our feet right underneath us. And now right from here, bring your hands to your thighs for that chair pose again. press into your hands, and let your arms come straighter so you can rise up your torso. So you're up in that chair pose here for a breath. Good. And then bring your hands to your heart in your chair pose. And then press into your feet and rise on up to standing, into your mountain pose. Bringing your gaze on forward and out. Feeling that, again, natural alignment of the body. If you need to sway around a little bit to find that feeling, let yourself do it. And feel the tailbone dropping down towards between your heels. Hips over your ankles, shoulders over your hips. And then we'll go ahead and let our arms come on down. Shake it out a little bit. Move through your feet and your ankles. And we are actually going to bring our mats to a wall now and do something at the wall here. So take your time. Let yourself bring your mat to the wall. And then get your blocks and bring them with you as you turn your back towards the wall. And step to either side of your mat, right? So that you're wider apart with your feet. So how far you want to go will depend once you come down, all right, with your hands. So once your blocks are down on the floor and you're down here at the highest height, see if you can maybe get your heels closer to the wall, even touching the wall. And then see if you can shift your hips back to touch the wall. And imagine that your inner and outer thighs are kind of being pinned to the wall. Now this is a wide-legged forward bend, but it's a really different feeling than being at the center of the room doing it. So take your time. If you're like, well, I want my feet to go wider. I usually really like wide. And you try it and it feels fine, you can. Or you can stay with your feet closer in, right? Now, if you want to go lower on your blocks, you can always shift to the next level and come down further. And keep going. If you want to get your hands on the floor, more power to you. Just don't fall forward and do a forward roll is all I say. Because it is, if you bring the hands in closer towards between your legs, it is very intense. So just make sure you don't lose control there. Good. One more breath. And now we're going to come up enough to walk a little to the right. Now you may just want to shift your blocks a little to the right, or you may want to walk your hands a little to the right. I mean, if you can make it all the way over towards your right foot, go for it, but try to keep your left hip into the wall. That's the trick right now. And then come on back through center and head over to the left again, maybe just a little shift. Maybe you feel like you want to try to go further, but again, try to keep that right hip towards the wall. And then come on back into center. And now walk your hands out. Now you may want to use a block. We're going to find a nice long back, right? So you may want blocker blocks under your hands. So now you're like a tabletop. You're flat backed. And we're going to twist. Bring our right hand up to our right hip and roll that right shoulder up and feel again both hips into the wall. Knees can be bent here, remember. You don't have to have straight legs. You can have bent knees. And then come on back down with that hand and we'll go to the left. Left hand comes up, rolling that left shoulder up. Again, if you need to bend your knees, bend your knees. Good. And then we'll come on back down with our hand. Take one more breath wherever you want to be. And now, we got to get out of it. So, letting yourself walk forward with your hands, your feet come away from the wall before you rise up is usually the easiest way. You can bend your knees, rise on up, and move through your legs and your feet a little bit if you need to. Good. And now just bring one block with you as you turn your left shoulder towards the wall. And bring the block between your left foot and your supporting foot, left foot, and the wall. I like lowest height for eagle, but you can go any height with the block. So that when you cross your right thigh over your left, and you put your toes maybe on the block, you can come to the ball of the foot really, and bend the left knee a little bit almost like you're just pressing your left thigh into the back of your right thigh, right? That's a lot right there in the hips. It's strengthening, even just to let go of the wall and bring your hands to your heart. If you want to go deeper, you can shift your hips backward like you're coming into chair pose. Let your torso come forward. If you're feeling really, really strong, you can lift your toes up off the block and try to do that if you want. Let yourself find just a little bit more. And some of you might want to bring your left arm over your right and do your eagle arms at the same time, right? So if you want to do the eagle wrap of the arms and the legs, you can. And then we're going to rise to come on back up, and we're going to turn around and come to that other side. So shake out again. If you need to move through your legs a little bit, do. And standing on the right foot, once you cross that left thigh over, again, if you can come more like kind of to the ball of the foot, and it's just like you're kind of pressing here the right thigh into the left one as you bend your knees. You can stay more upright. You can bring your hands to your heart and let yourself find your hips there. You don't have to bend that deeply. If your knees bother you, don't do it. Stay up higher. If it feels good to shift your hips back a little bit and let your body come a little more forward, do. And then, of course, if you like to bring your right arm on top of your left, you can come into eagle wrap. You don't need to. All of these are just choices, right? Good. And then we'll release and come on up and shake out a little bit. From here, let's turn to face the wall. And get up in really close to the wall with your pelvis, right? Your stomach is into the wall. Belly in. Bring your arms behind you and interlace your fingers. And then see if you can. Feel the belly lifting. Feel the tailbone just curling a little bit towards the wall as you bring your forehead off the wall. Now, you may even want to go farther. You know, you can always put your hands on the top of the buttock muscles there and turn the fingertips down to give you support. If you want to release more, your chest away from the wall. That's up to you. Be where you can be. If you're like, I don't even want to take my head off the wall, then don't do it. In other words, if you feel too much pressure into your low back, but you want to feel this sense in camel pose of coming into not shifting your hips backward, but just opening up through the front body. Beautiful. One more breath here. And then bring your head back to the wall. Bring your hands chest level onto the wall there. And step back towards a down dog at the wall. So take your time. You know, if your wrists bother you, come to fists. We're just letting ourselves release here after that back bend. You can bend your knees. Feel your elbows hugging towards each other. Really get that sense of now feeling the length of the spine. Feel your feet right under your hips, so you're more like a capital letter L. And then just enjoy finding that length of the spine. And imagine your tailbone reaching back and then maybe up a little bit, which brings that natural curve into your low back. Here you go, good. I just saw a little movement there. Good, one more breath. And then we're going to rise on back up. We're going to walk on back, and we are going to make our way down onto our bellies on the floor. So take your time, come on down. Once you get down, just lay on your belly, let yourself release, let your head, actually, if you can, be on your forearms and let your head hang, do. If this bothers you, don't do it. But if you can get your elbows maybe a little closer together than you normally do under your shoulders, get them kind of under your inner shoulders, and then let your head hang a little bit. Let your chin turn a little side to side. Good. And then come on in to line your your forehead down on your hands for a breath or two. Let your legs release so that your heels maybe hike out a little bit. You kind of roll towards the pinky sides of your tops of your feet there. Breathe into your low back. Good. And then we're going to bring our elbows under our shoulders. Again, clasp our hands and send our pinky finger out. Now, you can bend your knees, come into a half forearm plank on the flesh above your knees. Pressing into your forearms. Imagine you're trying to draw yourself towards the front edge of your mat. Or you can put your toes down and do the same thing with your legs up, the knees up. And let yourself press into your forearms. Feel that strength there in the core body. And then release down. And we're going to roll onto our right side with your knees coming forward and bent a little bit. You've got you're up on your forearm and your right elbow is underneath your shoulder. Right? So from here, see if you can bring your left arm across your chest and just hook it over to the top of your right shoulder here. And think about, if you can, trying to let go a little bit right there at the top of your shoulder. Instead, as you press down, imagine the muscles underneath your arms are wrapping forward, right? So there's a kind of more space in the top of that right shoulder. If you can feel that, that's pretty good. Now you can add, hips up a little bit if you want. You can stretch your top leg out long and think of lifting your hips up in a side plank. Some of you might want to do the opposite. Stretch your bottom leg out, put your top left foot on the floor, and lift up. That's another variation. You don't have to lift up at all. And of course you can do a full side forearm plank if you want, bringing yourself long with your legs. And when you've had entirely enough of that one, come down. We're going to roll to the other side. So again, once you get your elbow underneath your shoulder, you can make a loose fist if that feels good with your left hand. And then the right arm comes up and over, and see if you can just really just wrap it over the top of the shoulder. Now, you can feel what's happening. If you press down and you find this sense of space, there you go. Feel how the muscles are wrapping forward under your arm. Now, this is all you need to do to really work a little bit in your shoulder. You don't have to lift your hips up at all. Or you can stretch the top leg out, lift up a little bit there if you want a little more weight. Or you can stretch the bottom leg out, put the front right foot on the floor and lift up there. Or you can do a full side plank if you want. And then we'll release. We're going to come back onto our bellies again. Find a Sphinx pose here. Let yourself just release now. Elbows under the shoulders. Spread the fingers nice and wide. Good. And then we're going to shift back towards pose of a child. So take your time. Make your way on back into child's pose. Separating those knees as much as feels good. Letting yourself release between your legs a little bit. And breathe into your low back. Let that expansion happen of the ribs as you inhale. But also, it's almost like you're breathing into your pelvis. So imagine the entire pelvis expanding. Good. One more breath here. And then we'll bring ourselves hands towards the knees to help us rise up and bring ourselves around to sitting with our legs in front of us. And if you're like, okay, I need a blanket, grab a blanket. Sit up on a blanket or two if you feel better to do that. And we're going to cross right ankle. Either, if you want, you can do the figure 4 where you cross your right ankle above your left knee or below your knee. Or if you want to do half cow face, you can send that left leg more to the midline and cross your thigh over your thigh. So that is up to you, up to how you're built in your hips really. So You do what's pretty comfortable for you to do here. And just for a second, lengthen up, and then bring your left arm up overhead. Reach up towards the ceiling. And then bend that elbow and let the hand come behind you. And think about, your elbow might be forward, it might be out. It doesn't necessarily need to be up because it depends on how your shoulders will let you do it. And then if you can bring your right hand behind you, turn your palm out and put the hand down on your low back. Or if you're one who likes to send your hands towards each other on your back, you can. Good. One more breath there. Pretty hard pose. And then release your arms on down and think of coming forward just a little bit. Now some of you might want to hold on to that right knee or the shin if you're crossed in that figure 4. Some of you might want to reach for your leg or even your toes, right, of that long leg. So take your time. Let it feel good. Let the hips release here. Feel that left heel on the ground, drawing back a little bit towards you. So you're engaged in that long leg. Good. One more breath. And then coming on up, we're going to add a twist here at the top. Take a nice inhale. And on the exhale, bring your right hand around behind you. Left hand can go onto that knee or to the outside, depending on how you're sitting, of course. And let yourself lengthen upward. Imagine you're lifting your pelvic floor up a little bit here. And then think of your chin being parallel to the floor, even if you turn to look behind yourself. Now, like we did at the beginning, stay in your twist, like we did at the beginning of class. But on your next exhale, turn your head towards the left. So you're looking over towards your left shoulder. And then lower your chin down just a little bit so that you find even a different release there for your neck. One more breath. And then coming back around into center with everything, letting yourself come on back around. And we are going to switch legs. So bring that right leg out long. Shake everything out. If you need to kind of give your legs a little massage, do. And then we'll come on again. Left ankle above or below the knee. If you're able to cross thigh over thigh. Don't force it. If it feels uncomfortable, do that figure 4. And then from here again, just imagine yourself coming a little bit forward, wherever that leads you. So take your time, be mindful. Maybe doing the arms second instead of first. I was thinking this might make it more comfortable. So let's get that length in that long leg and get that stretch happening behind the leg. Good. One more breath. And now as you slowly come up, we're going to add these arms here now. So bring the right arm all the way out and up overhead. And bend the elbow. Again, we're all different. Left hand behind you. If possible, turn your palm up and just rest the back of your hand there low on your back. If you feel, I love to try to get my hands to come together on my back, do it. Remember, this is a great one to do for shoulders, like holding at home a strap or a towel. You know, you can hold a towel between your hands. Let your shoulders open up here. Keeping the gaze forward so chin is parallel to the floor. And then we'll release and let our arms come on down. Shake out a little bit. Take a nice inhale. And on the exhale, left hand comes behind you. You're going to twist, bringing that right hand maybe to your left knee or maybe across to the outside. Now lift the low belly a little bit. You're looking back behind yourself as much as you can for another breath. And now, nice inhale. And when you exhale, stay in your twist, but turn your head to look over towards your right shoulder. And then slowly lower your chin down a little bit. So find, again, wherever you need to be there. Don't force anything. One more breath. And then as you slowly make your way back, everything into center. Let yourself come on around. Bring your legs on out in front of you. And shake them out a little bit. Do some little windshield wiper floppy feet. You can do little leg bounces too if you want. We're going to come on down onto our backs on the floor. So once you get down onto your back, just be mindful. Let your feet come onto the floor. Let yourself just ease your way into being comfortable here by a couple of little pelvic tilts. So just curling your tailbone up as you exhale so you feel that low back flat into the ground. Good. And then finish off and let your spine be neutral. So now you have that low back curve, and we're all different how deep of a curve that is, right? And then bring your arms down alongside your body. Let your palms face down towards the floor. Press into the backs of your upper arms and the backs of your shoulders. So that lifts your upper spine off the floor. Roll your shoulders under a little more. If you feel better to bend your elbows to 90 degrees, do before you lift up into a little bridge pose. You don't have to go high. Totally up to you. Once you get up, if you want to roll your shoulders under more, do. If you're more comfortable to grab a block and come into that supported bridge, by all means do that. Remember, bridge pose. You're going to feel your thighs. You do not want to feel any discomfort in your back. So you can always come down if you do and let yourself regroup. Maybe change how far your feet are from your buttocks before you lift up too. That can make a big difference. So just experiment a little bit, and if you're already comfortable in bridge, you want to stay or you want to support yourself and release, do. And if you feel better to come up into bridge for a couple or 3 breaths and then come back down, then do that, right? You don't need to go up there. You don't want to get this sense of tightening everything up. It's a lengthening both in the front and the back of your body. Now be mindful when you do get ready to come down. Let yourself release back down. If you're on that block, be careful when you come on off the block. And bring your knees on into your chest once you get there. And let your knees separate. Bring your hands either to rest on your shins, your ankles. Some of you might want to wrap your hands around the outside edges of your feet for your Baddha Konasana. That is so up to how you're built in your hips. So just letting it be a release for your hips, your low back, your inner thighs. Get a nice release here. I mean, some of you might feel comfortable in this pose when you exhale to bring your head up off the floor a little bit, just to look at your feet. I mean, that can actually feel good or it can feel the opposite, right? So don't do it if it doesn't work for you. Feel those knees gently reaching away from each other. And then bring your knees on back in. Stretch your feet on up in the air. See if you can just do either a bicycle, an old-fashioned bicycle up there, or maybe just letting your legs come back and forth in that kind of cross-country ski movement, right? whatever's the most releasing for you in your hips, your legs. And then come on back with the feet up and let your feet widen into a bit of a wide angle and then close them back at the top again like scissors, right? So you're going to open them out. Doesn't matter how far you go. And then you're just going to bring them back up. Keep flexing your feet through this. Let yourself just enjoy. And it might not be very enjoyable after a few times. So, you know, just do what you can. If you need to stop, stop. And then finish off. Bring your knees on back into your chest. And then lower your feet to the floor. Stretch your arms overhead for a second. And just let your low back come off the floor. Clasp your hands. Send your palms away from the top of your head. And press up into the heels of the hands. And your back's going to rise up. That's fine. Just let it feel good. Proceed to whatever sounds like your body wants to do next. So if there's any other movement or pose that sounds like a good idea to you, it doesn't have to be a traditional yoga pose. You might just want to stretch your body out long. You might feel like you need to do another little twist. You might feel like anything. We're all going to feel differently after the poses we just did. So don't rush, really take your time. I'm going to start to go around so that I can pick things up for people here at the studio. If you're home and you know that the idea of having a little support sounds really good to you, if you don't have a bolster, you can always roll a blanket up. And it's not usually, sometimes it takes 2 blankets, okay? So I'll look around as I start to move around. Kind of give me a sign if you think a support would be good. Also, if you need a blanket for underneath your head or for cover, just wave at me. And just let yourself now begin to be with your breath. Just accepting your breaths now. Feel the weight of your arms and your legs a little bit. Not so that they feel uncomfortable, but just letting that natural weight help you release a little deeper into your shoulders and your hips. And then as you bring your awareness to your breath, just watch the breath as it comes in and goes out. Your breath will want to change. It might start to get a little more shallow and quiet, and you start realizing that your mind has wandered off. And when you come back, there's a need to take a deeper breath. Just let yourself be okay with that. Just allow yourself to follow that quieting breath, giving yourself time to benefit from all you just did. And just let yourself completely and fully relax. good to let your fingers and your toes lead you into moving your hands, your feet. And let your body do what it needs to do. If you need to stretch, do, or bring your knees up and in. Be comfortable whether you stay on your back or you roll onto either your right or your left side. Just give yourself time. Come back into physically moving again, and be really easy when you feel ready to rise up, so it feels like you could float your way on up to sitting. However you like your legs to be, where your hips feel good, and just lengthening up, top of the head reaching up, and very easily feeling your shoulders soften down. And then just watch your breath again, all the way in and out. And on your next exhale, let your hands gently come to meet there in front of your chest. And wishing each one of you a very joyful day. Namaste. Happy Monday.